Today on the PitchBook Podcast, we have Craig Whiting, and he is our relief pitcher pitching The Six Types of Working Genius by Pat Lencioni. Batter up!
Rock and roll. So does that mean I get to speak now?
Just go, Craig.
I thought Zach was going to talk to you.
I feel like Craig could just go for an hour, and I will just listen.
Yeah,
there was a dramatic enough pause on my.
There was. What am I supposed to do? No, you're good. Welcome to the podcast, Craig. We're excited to have you. Zach, why don't you do a little intro for our listeners, and tell us about our newest relief pitcher.
Yeah. So Craig, thanks for coming on. Craig, I've known Craig, I don't know, 7-8 years maybe. Time goes by kind of fast. Craig owns I would say a large real estate brokerage. They do both commercial as well as residential real estate. Craig, maybe tell us a little bit about your business, because this kind of dovetails into the book that you're going to be talking about tonight. But would just love to hear how you started the business and where it's at today, and then it sounds like you're fine-tuning the company and build as you continue to grow and build.
Yeah, totally. So I started the company. Prime Real Estate Experts is the name of the real estate brokerage. So it's not like a franchise that we bought with like a Remax name or Keller Williams or some other brokerages. It's a privately owned, just independently owned brokerage. Prime Real Estate Experts, and I started that in the like January 2021. We've grown exceptionally fast. We have almost 100 real estate agents at this point. And so when you have a brokerage of this size, it then introduced quite a bit of the staffing needs in order to effectively run that brokerage. So I've got an operations manager, I've got a principal broker, I've got an executive assistant, and then I've got individuals and others, some part-time roles to fulfill other tasks that the brokerage has need of. But in essence, we have to have a good sized team in order to run a brokerage of this nature. I've been in real estate in one form or another since 2003, so over 20 years. Originally as a lender, and then got my agent's license in 2007 just to do my own personal deals. And then I found out I liked real estate more than I liked the lending side of things. And then got a master's degree in real estate development from the University of Utah. Opened up yeah, there you go. I've got a foot in both doors because I got an undergrad at the Y. But I opened up a small real estate brokerage in 2013 with no intent to grow. And I was just running a small brokerage from 2013 through 2020. And then different circumstances occurred, and I decided it was time we needed to make a large brokerage. So in 2021, I put on the gas, rebranded, opened up a new entity, and took it to a brick and mortar type of a model. And we have exploded in our growth. So now at this point, we're about 100 agents. We have corporate headquarters in Lehigh, but we service the entire state. And we, like you said, we do commercial, residential, land. We do all of it.
So for people listening that maybe aren't familiar with that term brokerage, what exactly does that mean? Like what role does that play in a commercial or residential real estate transaction?
Yeah, great question. So the state of Utah requires all real estate agents to affiliate with a broker. The broker then has primary responsibility for training and compliance. The state then has someone they can whack on the head when something goes wrong, not just the agent, but they bring the broker into it as well. Because the state, frankly, does not have enough training before you get your license. It's 120 hours. And so you can get a license in a month and be selling real estate and not have really any experience outside of that. And so the brokers, the state relies on brokers to teach and help with compliance and to train and help these agents become effective. These agents also, they're not taught anything about marketing and how to actually create a business, run a business. And really that's when you become an agent, you're really running sort of an independent little business, and you don't get any training from the state on that. So these agents try to find a broker who can help them develop their real estate business. So they hang their license at a brokerage. And so as the brokerage, we negotiate different compensation arrangements with the agents. The agents will go off and conduct business. The brokerage will keep a portion of that, any closed transactions. And in exchange for the money that they give us, the agents give us as a part of their commission, we then provide training, compliance, leadership, that kind of a thing.
So the brokerage kind of mitigates the risk if you have an agent out there that's maybe working part-time, hasn't had a lot of training, you kind of help them stay compliant, make sure that they're doing business the right way, disclosures are happening the way they're supposed to happen, and keep everything above board.
Yep, exactly. So we've got a lot of systems involved with training systems, compliance systems, to help these agents. That's exactly right.
Okay, awesome.
This is a very serious podcast. So I have a serious question for you, Craig. Do you have to disclose if a murder has happened in the house or not?
That's solid questioning there. So that would fall under stigmatized property law.
Okay.
And it's not required to be disclosed.
Okay.
Unless a buyer specifically asks you as a seller, hey, has a felony occurred in this home? In which case you do have to disclose, but you don't have any outward responsibility to openly say, hey, by the way, I've been selling drugs in this house.
This is a very, like I said, very serious podcast. This is what people want to know. So
yeah.
Now we appreciate having you on. So the one thing we love to hear is how did you hear about this book? Like, did you like one of the books I found at a, I don't know, thrift store or something like that? How did you hear about this book before you start to pitch it?
So my principal broker, Marty McKay, is the one that brought this to my attention because he said, hey, Craig, I've read a book that I know will help our team. So when I use the term principal broker, he's the one. So I'm the owner and I used to be the principal broker, but as our brokerage grew, I couldn't wear both, hats in that circumstance. It was just getting too large. So I brought him in and gave him the hat of principal broker. So he has primary responsibility for compliance and some training aspects in the brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, he brought it to my attention, said, Craig, I think to help our team, we should really identify what our strengths are, what we enjoy doing, and how our team might be complementary or not complementary among the key leadership team in the brokerage. And I thought that, hey, this is a great idea, Marty. So he brought it to us. So he had me read it. We all read it. I had myself, Marty read it, and we have a branch broker that read it, and we had other key staff and leaders read it as well. And then we had some discussions about that as well. We took the assessment that is done, that you can take it after you finish reading. You can pay for an assessment to identify your working geniuses and also your working frustrations, which we'll talk about here. And then we had a powwow as a leadership team and then made changes based on that.
Awesome. I'm excited because this is basically like an inside view into the book club that happened at Prime Real Estate Experts, right? So
you got it.
So tell us. So I mean, obviously the book, there's 6. So what they're saying is, and again, that's one of the things we don't ever know what you're going to pitch prior to you telling us. So I can just make a lot of random assumptions while we talk first. So this is basically what they're saying is there's basically 6 kind of different ways that people go about, or their genius that they use in life or business. Is that the gist of the book?
Yeah, so there are different tasks per se that occur in a business, and some of those tasks people naturally enjoy doing, and some you don't naturally enjoy doing. This helps work through, sort of identify what those tasks are, and then as well as help you understand which ones you like and which ones you don't. I mean, that's simplified explanation of that, but
sure.
They phrase it, or the author, Pat, phrases it as a genius. And I actually love the way he phrases that because it's more of a superpower. What is your superpower? What do you enjoy doing? And here's the thing that's really interesting. It's not that you can't do these other tasks. Sure. Like everybody can do any of the tasks. It's just about what you naturally gravitate to, what you naturally enjoy doing. And with his, one of the things he teaches is you might be in a doing a task that you're good at, but you just don't enjoy. And you leave work perpetually frustrated. And his teaching being, hey, look, if people can sit, you hear the phrase sit in the right seat on the bus. And I don't remember if he used that analogy or not, but it's the same principle applies that if people are doing what they naturally enjoy doing, they will go home feeling fulfilled at work instead of frustrated. And when people are feeling fulfilled, it will generally help the business as a whole because you're going to enjoy being there, enjoy what you're doing.
That's I think a Jim Collins quote, to get the right people on the bus from good to great. Another
Yeah, I
good
think
right.
there's get the right people on the bus and then find the right seat for them,
Get the
right?
right
Like
seat. That's right.
that's
Yeah.
the difference.
Yeah, and this is a lot along those lines of getting them into the right seat.
Okay. That makes sense.
So the geniuses are tasks that you do, different tasks you do at work. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, the way Pat put it together, he used the word widget. So there's 6 letters in the word widget, with each letter representing sort of a category of tasks. And so W in this case would stand for wonder. And then so that the wonder element, those are the individuals that really enjoy just pondering what are the possibilities, like trying to think outside the box instead of just going to work and assuming that you need to do things the way they've always been done. People with wonderment really like to ask questions and not necessarily be satisfied with whatever the status quo is. They like to think and use their mind to push boundaries and say, well, why can't we go beyond this? And I think you guys maybe recently pitched a book that had something along those lines, right? Sort of thinking greater outside of your current circumstance. And so people with wonder, their mind just lives in that world. It's sort of in a world of imagination. They just love being in that spot. The next one for the I is invention. And so when it comes to invention, those are the people that like to generate ideas. So people with wonder will generate questions, and then the people with invention like to come up with the solutions. And so they're just living an ideal world, and ideas are constantly spinning through their head. And those are the people when you ask, hey, like here's just a really simplified example. Like I was yesterday, there was, I'm involved as a youth leader in the church organization that I'm in, and an activity fell through that we were planning to do with the youth. And immediately my brain starts spinning on so many different ideas that we could do to replace it, because that's where my brain likes to live. So invention is generating ideas. The next one after that, the D in widget, the D is discernment. Discerning whether those ideas have merit and will succeed or not succeed, and really living in an evaluative state, analysis state, and just sort of there are people that pull in patterns and are really good at looking at concepts and principles and determining whether an idea will have legs or not. So that's the D. Then you go to a G. He calls it galvanizing. Galvanizers are excellent at bringing people together. They're excellent at rallying the troops. And they're really good at they're the rah-rah cheerleaders and get people excited. Okay, that's the galvanizing individual. And they can really bring, so you might have a really good idea. So you start pondering, hey, we might need to change something. Ideas are generated. Discernment, okay, I think that this idea should work. The galvanizers are really key. They can rally the troops around that change that's going to happen, or that new idea that's going to happen. And after that, the E in the widget is enablement. These are people that love helping other people. And it's really interesting. I've got a good friend who he's told me, he said, Craig, my position in life is not to come up with ideas. My position in life is not to be the generator of like a new thing. My skill is finding other people who already have their ideas and then going in there and being the support to make sure that their ideas can succeed. And that's really the enablement person. Their brain those are people that just love they find a lot of joy being the people helping get an idea across the table. They like helping other people fulfill their goals, and they just live in that world. And then the T is tenacity. And for me, it's a really task-oriented type of a gift, that people love details and pushing details across the table. They love seeing projects get to the finish line. And so they love dealing with all the minutia that happens around an idea. They love dealing with those little critical tiny pieces and putting them all together and pushing them along their journey and getting a task done. And so those are really, when you look at that, you begin to identify, okay, I might have, something, the things I gravitate to are this or that. The things I don't like as much as are these other two. And so the way he brings it together, he says everybody has at least 2 geniuses, things that they naturally like. So, and then there are 2 frustrations that people just don't like to do. And then there are two that he calls competencies, things that are sort of in the middle that you're okay, you're good at. It's not necessarily you find great joy or frustration in it. And that's a competency. So when you look at those 6 letters, you'll have 2 for 2 geniuses. You'll have 2 competencies that are sort of in the middle, and you'll have 2 things that just frustrate you, things you just don't find joy doing. Like the things that when you get home from the workday and you go home and your spouse asks you, hey, how was your workday today? If you spent your time in those like doing tasks in those frustrated categories, you go home feeling like, ah, man, I just didn't enjoy my workday today. Well, it's because you were dealing with your frustrations instead of working in your geniuses. And so anyway, so he goes through this. He explains how he used these principles in his business to help it succeed. And then we likewise did the same at our brokerage. But at the end of this, at the end of the book, you can take an assessment. You can line up and see, okay, here's where my geniuses are, my competencies, my frustrations. And then you can then begin to make changes in your life to help put you where your geniuses are, because then you're going to find a lot more joy and more success, because you will just be a happier person.
And do you find that the geniuses are connected? Like if your geniuses wonder, are those naturally connected to other geniuses? Like, are they kind of paired usually together, or is it all over the place where you might have wonder and tenacity together?
Yeah, that's a great observation and question. Like at least what we found in our, as we took our various assessments, they weren't necessarily linked, because you would probably think, okay, if you're really good at W, you're going to be good at I because that's the one next to it. Or if you're good at I, you're going to be good at D, and
Yeah.
D and G. And that's not necessarily the case, at least from what I saw. Now, maybe there's been more research done on that, but at least in our little example, of testing our, my leadership team, that wasn't the case. We were scattered.
Did you find that people, when they did their assessment, were doing jobs or doing their tasks in a way that were totally unfulfilling, like everyone's in the wrong seat on the bus?
So this totally happened. So here's the
You have to
example.
reshuffle the whole bus. Everybody get off. We're getting back on.
Yeah, we had to in some circumstances. So here's an example. So typically in a real estate brokerage, that there will be various trainings that happen throughout the week, but there's usually one brokerage meeting, like a team meeting, that every agent in the brokerage is invited to come to this meeting. And in that meeting, we're reviewing different things. We're reviewing like some compliance tips. We're reviewing the market to help agents understand what's going on in the economy and where the real estate market's going. We bring in outside vendors to come in, like maybe we have a builder come in and talk about some stuff, or we have his home inspector. And then, we and we look at productivity. We have an agenda that we go through on our brokerage meeting. And most brokerages that are big will have something like this. Well, our principal broker, like other brokerages do, the principal brokers run in this meeting. Okay, it's more of an administrative meeting. He takes control of it, so I don't have to worry about it. And he gets up there and he's the one running the meeting. But what we noticed, and this was an admission from him as well. So if he's listening to this, I'm totally cool to say this. But this is like looking in at our after we had read the book and we tested ourselves and we started discussing like, okay, what tasks are we doing we shouldn't be doing? He realized, it's like, guys, I should not be running this meeting. Why? He's not a galvanizer. He doesn't like galvanizing at all. And that meeting there's a little bit of a rah-rah element, because look, it's a sales industry we're in. Okay. And so you got to sort of infuse energy into these sales agents that are coming, and have this meeting be exciting, and instead of just being mundane and monotonous. And he realized, he's good at training on compliance, but compliance is a really monotonous, mundane, boring yet necessary, but boring topic. And so he doesn't like it at all. And so here we are, we're like, wait a minute, our team meetings don't have as much energy because the guy running the show is not a galvanizer. So we found who on our leadership team was a galvanizer, and we decided, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have her start the meeting, because there were only 2. Like I can't remember. I think we tested maybe 8 people, something like that, and there were only 2 in the room that galvanizing was in their geniuses. One of the geniuses. Otherwise, galvanizing was basically in the working frustrations for most everybody else. So we're like, okay, Marlene, you're really great at galvanizing. We need you to start the meeting and get the show going. And so she has been, and it's been bringing energy to the room. And in fact, today she did something that I wouldn't do naturally because it's not my genius. She stood up there and she played the song from the Lego movie, like Everything is Awesome. And she starts singing and dancing in front of the room. And she's like, come on, guys, everybody get up. We're doing this.
Great.
That's not me. Now I could do it, right? I could do it. Any of us here could do it. It's just so galvanizing is actually one of my working frustrations. That's not where I like, that's not my natural inclination. And so we made that change and had it. So now she's starting doing the cheerleading stuff. And now our team meetings have energy, more energy, and people like it and people enjoy it because we got the right person who has that gift, has that genius doing that task.
I like to imagine Marty saying compliance is awesome and like getting everyone excited. Turn to page 1477. We're gonna learn about stigmatized property. This is it, guys. This is big time. Like,
yeah,
that would be great.
Marty would have loved your question about the dead body, by the way. That's the world his brain lives in. Like, wait a second, guys. This is a compliance question.
Let me take it from here, guys. All right.
So even though she isn't necessarily in the org chart to do that meeting, it makes sense. You adapted, had her start the meeting, and then that gets everyone kind of pumped for the rest of whatever comes after that.
You're exactly right.
Is the adaptation. Okay.
She's not even in the org chart for that. It doesn't fall anywhere within her responsibilities. We just realized she's got the genius. She's going to do the task. And not just like, she's not being forced. She's like, wait a minute, guys, I like doing this.
Yeah. She probably goes home very happy after the doing a meeting like that, right?
It's exactly right. So the other guy that has a G, a galvanizing, we have brought him into a portion of the meeting because he didn't have any responsibility in that meeting, but we brought him in as well. So she has a portion, he has a portion, and then we bring in some other elements. But now that we've infused that into that meeting, now we've got a really high quality weekly team broker meeting that just rolls exceptionally effectively because we made this change.
That's cool. What are I'm trying to think of the question I'm asking here. So there's two that you don't really like, right? But you can do. And so tell me more about the ones that are the medium, like the Goldilocks, right? Like you're not great at them, but you're okay. What was the scoop on those ones?
So those are called competencies, and I'll just give you my own personal examples. So
sure.
E is the enablement, like being like enjoying helping people. Phil is one of my competencies. It's not something that frustrates me, and it's not something I like naturally just just love. It's where it's helpful for me is I do get, we have almost 100 agents. They need help with questions and that kind of a thing. And so when they come in and say, Craig, I need help with something, I'm not annoyed by it at all. That's fine. But the difference is, going back to Marty, E is one of his geniuses. He loves it. So he's like, Craig, I love the, hey, do you have a minute type of questions. Loves it. So what did we do? We put his office at the very, very, very front of our like building. He's the first person everybody sees in the morning. He's the closest, for all the agents to go ask a question to. He's right there. Mm-hmm. He loves that because that's his genius. He loves having that occur. So agents know, hey, Marty's, yes, I can ask Craig for help with something, but they've learned, go to Marty basically with everything. And then there's some specific expertises I have when it comes to some land and commercial that they know they should come to me about.
Sure.
But other than that, the questions are really being directed toward Marty. This makes, not only does Marty like it, this makes him happy. He goes home fulfilled saying, man, I was able to help this agent and this agent and this agent. That's what he really enjoys doing. Whereas had all those questions been piled up on me, I would have gone home not fulfilled and not frustrated.
Right.
But I would have just been, look, I sort of, how was your work today? It was good. Whereas the difference being, hey, going home, if you spent your day in the geniuses, this is awesome. I go home, man, my day was awesome. So for me, for instance, my geniuses are discernment and invention. So I live in the world of creating ideas and then using analysis to determine whether those ideas have legs or not. And so I love that, which helps me because as the owner of the brokerage, I have a lot of responsibility for the vision of the brokerage, where it's going to go, what we're going to try to accomplish, and how we're going to get there. And so my days are very fulfilled when I can spend time from a global level looking at different systems in the brokerage, thinking, okay, this is broken. What are some ideas we can do to fix this? Coming up with those ideas, discerning those ideas, doing some analysis, and then implementing, or at least asking others to implement. when I go home from that kind of a work day, my wife's like, "Hey, Craig, how was your work day?" It was great, Steph. You can't believe what we decided to do. And this is the change we made, and here are the results, and it's amazing. That's where my brain likes to live.
So does
Oh, go ahead, Zach.
does a company require that you have someone at the helm that's leading? I'm thinking about Wonder, someone that's thinking big picture. Where are we steering the ship? Or does it really matter who's at the head? Like, can you have someone with tenacity be building a company and running things? Does it matter which genius helps you thrive in roles in life? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And that's a good question. I don't know if I can give a concrete answer to that one. What would be interesting, and I haven't looked at this, but it would be interesting to see, like, and maybe there's some reports out there that have this information, but like, for instance, Elon Musk, what is his working geniuses? I don't know. So, and then you go through different company CEOs and see, okay, is there a commonality among these?
Right. Right.
And my guess is that most of the, company leaders would be someone that would be living in the world of wonderment, discernment, something in that, and less on some of the other geniuses. But I don't know the answer. Not
So,
sure.
so, so maybe what I'm kind of gathering here is the geniuses are not necessarily changing someone's title and job necessarily, but putting them in a position where they can work in a way that they prefer to work. Like moving his office, you literally moved him to a different seat on the bus. So he's like getting all the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, what I like about that is it's better than just a random email. Okay, guys, from now on, we're asking Marty questions, generally speaking, unless they're about this or that, right?
yeah.
It's you physically moved him, and it's just natural now for that to happen, rather than like people forgetting or new agents coming in and not they didn't get the email 6 months ago that you're not supposed to ask me questions because Marty's better at those questions. So I love that you guys did that.
The other thing that this helped us is it confirmed certain seats that people already were in.
Hmm.
So, for instance, I have an executive assistant, and her strengths are tenacity, which is what I do not have. That's my frustration. So galvanizing is one of my frustrations, and tenacity, because I get bogged down with there are too much minutia, too many small details that need to, like, to get pushed toward the end of the row. I get bogged down big time in that. And so it confirmed. So when her test came back saying that she was a T, I'm like, okay, that is awesome. Because she's told me, Craig, I enjoy this, that, or the other. That's what she's told me. But this confirmed when she took the test. Oh, she
Yeah.
really actually does like working on these tasks. And she enjoys when I pile tasks on her and say, okay, Ashley, can you call this person, text this person, do this. She's the one that handles, for instance, all my own personal transactions. So even though I'm the owner of the brokerage and I help teach the agents, I still do a lot of real estate sales myself. And last year, for instance, in 2023, there are about 20,000 agents in the state of Utah, something like that. I was agent number 15 when it came to the number of buyer side transactions closed in the state of Utah last
Wow,
year.
that's amazing.
So, and the only reason why I could do that is you have to understand the art of delegation, and delegating that which that's a whole different thing. But you got to focus on rainmaking activities and delegate everything else. Unfortunately, in my delegating everything else, it actually naturally, like, I'm delegating the T related responsibilities, and I'm living with the like the I is invention. Well, you want to have someone with invention that's negotiating for you, whether it's a commercial deal, land deal, whatever, because there's a lot of nuance to how you negotiate and come up with the ideas on how to bring a contract together that are unique and creative and things like that. And then my discernment comes into strong play when it comes to evaluating properties, evaluating the value of properties, and whether a property is going to be good or not. And there's various things. So I love that part of it. But once that thing goes under contract, I don't want to touch it again. I want to go off and find the next deal.
Yeah.
So then my assistant comes in, and now she's handling all the disclosure process and title stuff and appraisal stuff, lending, financing. Like, she's handling those things, and she enjoys that. She also has E, which is great. It's a great combo because she gives a lot of personal touch to all my clients because the E is enablement. She loves that social aspect, helping other people. So she's got the two qualities I needed in an assistant. She had both of them. And she can do the other things, but that's what she really naturally enjoys and loves. And that's great because she's getting fulfillment at work and I'm getting fulfillment at work doing what I do. She's getting fulfillment in what she does. So that was great. Our operations manager, also high on the T score. And so he's involved a lot of, we load tasks on his plate saying like, hey, Michael, we need to have this booklet created or this pamphlet created. We need to have this system created. He also has I and T together. So now that I know that I'm able to delegate saying, Michael, you come up with a system and you also push it to the end and let me just glance over your shoulder every now and again. He's great with that. So he'll come up with different branding ideas and different, he comes up with a lot of different things and then he pushes things to the end. And it's great that he has that I and the T together. And that, Zach, is one of those examples where it's a split thing because that I and the T don't come close to each other in that, or in that system.
Yeah.
But it was good taking that test because now I can realize, okay, that's what this guy loves to do. I know I can pile those kinds of things on him and he's going to enjoy that.
So do you integrate this into your hiring process now? When you bring people on board, is it something that you have them do that assessment? Like if somebody's high in wonder, they're not going to be a great executive assistant because they need tenacity. They need to get tasks done and not wondering, how could we have done this differently?
I wonder if I'm going to get this task done or not. Probably not.
Right. You're exactly right. Now I haven't had a recent staff change where this would be necessary, but I would for sure have them take this test.
Okay.
As before I would hire them without question at all.
And what is the assessment like? Is it 20 questions, 10 questions?
Yeah, let's see. It didn't take me that long. I don't remember. It's probably 20 or 30 questions.
Okay.
It doesn't take long to complete. And so I would take the test. It's only like, it's like
$25. It's $25 on their website. Yeah.
Okay, 25. So I took it. I had my wife take it, and I obviously had everybody in my brokerage take it. But I'll tell you something real quick on the marriage side of things. Okay, this is more interesting than you realize. So Steph, for the longest time, this is years ago, but for the longest time, Steph's like, Craig, why don't you go coach a basketball team? Why don't you go coach a soccer team? Why do you want to coach? Other dads are coaching their kids. I don't know, Steph. I just don't want to do it. Well, now I know why. I don't have galvanizing my working frustration.
Yeah.
To be a coach, you need to do the rah stuff and you got to get the team together and everybody excited. Well, guess what? My wife was she was a camp counselor when she was,
she
in
loves
college. That's just her. So she loves, so in her mind, coaching's like super fun. You're supposed to go there and have a lot of joy. And I'm thinking, this is the thing I don't want to do. Well, so one year we did coach together, and now I can understand why things worked out. We were co-coaches together, and she handled all that rah stuff. This is before I took this test to figure this out, and she handled all the rah stuff. And there, my mind is like when the kids are on the basketball court, I'm looking out there, okay, and all my mind is thinking about strategy. I'm like, okay. It was living in invention and discernment. Like, okay, which players should we have together? Hey, what's going wrong with here? What plays should we design? And that's where my brain was living, and her brain was living in the rah, like cheering everybody on. And it worked really well together. We won the championship for the junior Jazz. And then I promptly retired as coach after that. One and done. But now I've got proof based on the working genius model. I've got proof why it's not that I can't coach. I just am not going to enjoy it because I'm not the rah person. I enjoy the strategy. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I don't enjoy the rah stuff when it comes to coaching. So take this with your spouse. It turns out that my wife and I are exact opposites. My 3 top scores were opposite of her 3 top. And I thought that was cool, and that's probably not the case in every marriage, but it's cool. And now that I know that when we have different tasks we're doing, we can see which ones we are going to enjoy better than others.
So what I'm hearing is when you're dating, get the quiz out first date.
First date.
Got a little quiz for you.
Yeah.
By the way, these are my top 3.
And if she's willing to take it, just marry her. Like, it doesn't matter what the score is. If she's the type of person that's going to take a quiz with you, she's right for you. If you're the person that's giving the quiz,
she's awesome at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you don't need to have opposite strengths. Like, you can have ones that align. That's not a problem because it just means you both like if you're both galvanizers, you might find a ton of joy as a husband and wife doing a lot of coaching and different kinds of things like that together. And who knows? My guess is marital satisfaction would work regardless of how these scores come out. But it's just, but if you want to marry someone that's a rah person, have them take the test, see if they're good at galvanizing. If you want someone that likes to live in the world of just discerning things, then find that too. Which, random side note, we had several people take this, like I mentioned. I was the only one that had discernment as a working genius. Everybody else, discernment was not just like not in the competencies, it was pretty much it was like most of it was in the frustration side. And so I thought it was interesting that and it was interesting for everybody else to say, wait a minute, Craig's the only one on our team that has discernment as a genius. And so knowing that, they started realizing we really, I'm fine with them coming up with the ideas, but they like running the ideas by me because my brain lives in that world. And as an example of it, earlier today, like I was just walking through our training room, and a couple agents pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Craig, come look at some marketing that we're putting together over here." I looked at it in 5 seconds. I told them that marketing is going to fail. Well, Craig, why is that going to fail? Well, because my brain has pieced together marketing stuff from over the years, and I know what's going to work or not. And that's just where my brain loves that. So I sat down with them and said, "Let me teach you some principles about marketing." Boom, 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 boom. And they're like, "Okay." So now they're going back to the drawing board. But I did think that was interesting that the D was sort of absent among everybody else. And I don't know if the working genius folks they probably have done analysis to see if what letters are more common than others, but for some reason the D was not common among our team.
Zach, after hearing this, you haven't read this book, have you, Zach?
I actually have.
Okay. Have you done the assessment? Do you know what you are?
I have not done the assessment.
What do you think you are?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm with Craig. I think all of them I could do. The galvanizing I do not enjoy, being the rah in front of everybody, trying to get everyone excited. It's just not natural. If I had to, I could try it, but I don't enjoy it or think about it. I don't like leading team meetings. The tenacity, driving something to the end, I do find satisfaction. When a project is completed, I check it off my box and say, we executed, it's done. I do enjoy that. And I would say the discernment, as I was reading the book, thinking through different ways or evaluating. I do have a lot of people that are in the wonder invention in my business. There's one gal that I work with. Her brain, if you call her, she's constantly got ideas. It's like she never stops. She's so creative. And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And I'll maybe take one or two of her ideas that I think will work and implement them. So I think discernment, tenacity, those are probably the two that I find myself enjoying, and probably not living in wonder too much. I would say enabling. I like to help people succeed and do well. So I would say that's probably my what did you call it? The
Competency.
Competency. Yeah. I'd say enabling is probably a competency, but discernment, tenacity, those two. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo. They're not connected at all in the chain in this idea supply chain to execution. But you do need all of them for your team to work well. You need all of those components to go from the I wonder if to it's happening and it's working. What about you, Matt? What do you?
I think that if I were to do this evaluation, they'd probably come up with a couple new letters like, P for procrastination, L for laziness, J for jokes. I don't really know what I would do on there, but no, I actually, it's interesting because I a while ago before I took this recent position, I was interviewing and for a similar role that I had previously, and I remember it was a very well established company. And I had kind of built what I'd built at a previous company. And I basically said, look, this is a really cool opportunity. I'll tell you that I'm not very, it's like, I can do the, looking at reports and, the kind of the numbers stuff. I'm fine with that. I'm good at it. I can do it, but what I really enjoy is kind of working with the team, helping them get better, watching their careers progress. And I said, if that's, I want to make sure that that's an opportunity for me at this company, or else this really isn't a good fit for me. And it was really interesting because again, it was almost just me having a concern, knowing like, I wasn't building from scratch. I was kind of plug and play, right? Potentially at that place. And I just wanted to make sure that I could, kind of come up with some ideas of how to help people get better, things like that, kind of put my signature on things. So if I had to guess, I would probably guess galvanize and enablement, but I obviously haven't read the book and I don't know for sure. But that would be my initial thoughts.
It's a quick read, Craig. Would you agree? Maybe an hour, couple hours.
Yeah.
It's got the parable at the beginning, and then the last chapter it kind of hits into the principles.
Yeah, it's not a long read. I remember how I listened to it on the Audible.
Yeah, it looks
But
like it's about 4 hours on Audible. So
is it okay?
Yeah.
Well, and
then you put it 2 speed and you're done.
Yeah,
Exactly.
1.5 or 2 or something. But yeah, but it doesn't feel that long at all, though. Like you're right, Zach. When you were saying how long did it take to read, I'm like, it wasn't that long at all. But yeah, it's not. This one you go through it pretty quickly, and you're exactly right. The first part of the book, Pat basically talks about what he experienced in his own work and how they came up with this model, and how it increased his satisfaction in life, and not just his, but also his fellow coworkers, because they started putting tasks into the geniuses that each had.
So what we always ask, it's funny because whenever we get like relief pitchers on, one of the things that Zach and I always try to ask each other is what do you apply, what are you going to apply to your life from this? Because we want to be, reading is fine and all that stuff, but if you don't apply what you've learned, like what's the point? So the problem here is you've already told us some awesome stories about what you've applied. So this is a moot question, right? But I think it's really worth remembering that you guys physically changed the location of Marty, so that you could get the outcome and the enjoyment that is mutually beneficial for everyone in the company. So is there anything else that you're trying to implement on this, or are you having more people read it? Anything else anything like that you're trying to implement?
So yeah, great question. So we have a standing meeting once every, I think it's 3 months, to specifically talk about these principles, the working genius. And so what we do is once every 3 months, the key, this key leadership team, and we've sort of invited some others into that circle. That, so as I would say, it's beyond sort of the core leadership, because we've expanded it to sort of some other key players in the company. And we meet once, basically quarterly at this point, and we have notes from our prior meeting and say, okay, how's this going? What can we improve on? What tasks need to be in other people's plates? Who's feeling frustrated with whatever they are doing currently? Would someone else enjoy doing that better? And so we actually have a standing meeting, because no company is static. And so as our company's progressing and growing, and the industry's changing, and tasks are changing, I think that's why we need this quarterly meeting to occur. And it's not a long meeting; it's only about an hour, but it's an effective meeting. We've had 2 of these meetings so far, and every time we've had a meeting, we've enacted changes based on the discussions that come up in the meeting, and it's awesome.
Yeah, what's nice about that is if nothing else, you all have a shared vocabulary, right, to talk about things and give good feedback to each other. So I love that. What we always rate the book with our baseball analogy. Single, double, triple, home run, grand slam, fly out, beanball. I don't know, whatever baseball term you want to give it. That we need your rating on this book.
Okay, for me, it's a solid triple.
Okay.
And I would say solid. It's one of those where you
stand
almost
up,
have
stand up triple. Yeah, right in the corner. The guy can't get his hands on it, and you're just basically stand up, walking over to third base. No, you're at third.
Yes, and even perhaps with the potential where you get to third and you think, if I'm fast enough, I might get an infield.
Infield home run. Now I like that one. We have not had
So,
that rating on here before.
but I think the reason for the rating, it was a solid game changer for us. So that's why it deserves the triple. And the implementation, and that's why it deserves a triple. But I think the reason why I would say it could potentially be an infield home run, is for businesses that are not organized well, where the tasks are not being appropriated well to the right people. this would be a slant, a home run for them. It would be
Got
an
it.
in the like an infield home run for them, for those
Gotcha.
businesses. And for us, where my personal assistant fortunately already had the E and the T that I needed, and and our principal broker had some qualities he needed, et cetera, et cetera. Because we already had some of that already in play, it was a solid triple for us, solid triple. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this hands down
Okay.
to anyone that's running an organization, or wants to learn, better leadership skills by understanding this kind of the principles we've talked about here. Definitely a great read, not laborious at all. It is interesting pretty much the whole way through. And it's one I probably did not do double speed because I was trying to really understand what was going on with it, because it was interesting enough. Some of those, and you know what I'm talking about. Some of the books, you're like, time to double. Okay, can we go triple speed? You know what I mean? That's not this. It was definitely worth it. And when I was initially skeptical when Marty recommended, hey Craig, we should do this and yada yada. I'm like, okay. But I got into it. I'm like, wow, it opened my eyes to something. It opened my eyes to something in my marriage, in my own marriage relationship. I've known my wife for 20. We've been married for 24 years, and man, I'm just coming to these realizations now. That's why I think it's a solid triple and maybe a little more.
Gotcha. One of these days we need to have somebody come in and give a book a strikeout. The problem is we have people bring books they like on, and so
I could give a lot of strikeouts. Maybe we do an episode on just strikeout books.
Yeah.
You should, man. That'll be your most listened to.
Yeah, probably would be
the worst books I've ever read. A top 10, or the bottom 10. We'll call it
bottom 10. All right, Craig, we really appreciate having you on. So again, the brokerage, if anybody's in the Utah area, so primerealestateexperts.com, right? Did I get that right? And anything else you want to say about the company? It seems like you built a really cool place, and I love that you're, always trying to get better. So anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, so we service the entire state of Utah. If you're buying outside the state, we have networks in other places as well, if you want to connect into some people that we trust. But we handle any kind of real estate transaction, whether it's like commercial land, residential, and it's anywhere in the state. You could be in southern Utah, you could be up in Logan, doesn't matter. I've got team members all over the place. And so we've got people in Vernal, Cedar City, Richfield, St. George, Logan, Centerville, whatever. I mean, we've got a really, really a really strong footprint in the state of Utah. We actually were in the top 2% of productivity for brokerages in 2023. Wow. Which was also awesome. And that might be on a residential metric. I can't remember, but it's so we've been blessed, and we're very fortunate. And I would just probably I don't know, maybe I'll end with this. Like, leadership, the study of leadership is something that I do hold dear in my heart, because I do feel that it's incumbent upon us to learn leadership skills for the intent of influencing for the good. And so I do feel like we have a responsibility, a God-given responsibility, to improve in how we can understand in leading people and in motivating people and raising people up. And the brokerage, I feel like the reason we've been successful is because our focus has not been on money. Our focus has been solely on improving and like influencing our agents. So we have a 4-word motto that we use. It's love, serve, connect, transform. And there's some religious undertones to that I probably won't get into on this podcast, but the reason where we sort of modeled this from. But from a leadership standpoint, we love our agents very dearly, and we will do anything we can to serve them. We work on building connections with them that are really permanent. And through that, we transform who they are. And we work on transforming them, not just in real estate. We have, in our brokerage, we have book clubs, we have exercise teams, we try to round them out in every single way, including in a spiritual way as well. We call it the higher power at our work, but we do what we call higher power trainings, because we're really trying to transform these agents with the idea that if we can transform them, they will transform their clients. And we want them to love and serve their clients and build permanent connections, and then provide transformative experiences for their clients. So I think that our growth as a brokerage is because we've been basing it on real principles that are eternal in nature, unchanging, and will never lose. And so we built it on that. But something I love about what you're doing here with your podcast is you're featuring books that really are transformative to people and increase a person's ability to then influence others in the world, improve their leadership, and those kinds of things. So I think there's great value to what you're doing, and I'm grateful for what you're doing. Grateful that I had the opportunity to come onto your podcast today, and wish you all the luck and success, and hope you have a ever expanding listenership.
And you said you weren't good at galvanizing. Come on. Come on.
That's not cheerleading. That's a little bit more, I don't know. The inspiring part of it is.
No, that's
Greg, that's a great pitch.
That's why,
coming on.
That's why we don't feature very many strikeouts, because we want to try to help people. No, I love it. So if I need a home that's had a crime committed in the Four Corners area of Utah, I'm coming to you. Okay.
We'll find it for you.
Always remember to ask if there's been a felony committed in that home. If you're buying a home in Utah. Okay. This is what we learned. No, awesome. Go. Craig, that was really good. That was great. Thanks for thanks for coming on. And we really appreciate it. That was actually that was cool. Very inspirational. Just want to say, everybody, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, get them to be, this is easier than recommending a book. Recommend the podcast about a book that somebody pitched, and it's easier than reading the book. We'll give you the cliff notes, and you don't even need to read it. So anyway, appreciate all our listeners. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you at the next game.